How about the Giants, though? I know they only played Carolina. It was an ugly game.
You got to respect it, though. You got to respect it.
2-0. 2-0. I mean, 2-0 is 2-0. And right now, as of this show, they are first place in that division. And they got a big game with Dallas coming up next week. And what a wild NFL Sunday, Tone. I still can't get over what I witnessed in the Dolphins-Ravens yesterday. And that was just one storyline of a crazy week. I don't know how you keep up with it on the TV, Tone, because I still can't believe what I witnessed with Tua Tagovailoa yesterday.
Yeah, that was a career game for him easily. And that's what happens when you surround a guy with weapons. And when you look at that Miami Dolphins defense, you see the firepower. The question was always, can they put it together? Can Tua show that he can be that guy? And that win yesterday against the Baltimore Ravens, that's a signature win. That's a win that goes on the resume. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. And for him and Kyler Murray, I felt like that was a game where both of them kind of shut up their haters a bit. Kyler Murray had a 20-point comeback against the Raiders. And where you think Kyler Murray's a franchise quarterback or not, I watched that whole game yesterday live. I'm sorry. I'd rather have Kyler Murray on my team than not. And if you want to get on a quarterback, like Eagles fans do with their quarterback, some Eagles fans, I should say, guess what? You're going to take the good with the bad. And Kyler Murray, to me, is just one of those players that you need him to run. You need him to use his legs. He covered 85 yards on a 2-point conversion yesterday. If he doesn't convert that, they lose. He converted two-point conversions in the final 7 minutes yesterday to even force overtime. It just tells you what happens when you have someone who can make plays at quarterback, almost like the Eagles can with Jalen Hurts. And look, Arizona should be 0-2 today. They're not. We're going to get in the NFC East in a bit, but I got to talk about these two crazy comments. We never had in the NFL, in the entire 103-year history of the NFL, two teams come back from 20-point deficits in the second half yesterday, and we got two.
Well, I mean, that just speaks to the amount of parity in the NFL. There are teams that are actually good now. Even if they may not be Super Bowl contenders, they're talented enough where they can catch you slipping. Or if you take your foot off the gas, they can catch you. A la the Detroit Lions, the Cardinals and, the Dolphins. These teams are starting to make a name for themselves, and they're starting to rise, from the ashes, right? So I got to be honest with you. One of the most impressive comebacks to me was that Dolphins game. Like that was probably one of the most spectacular things I've seen, because they dropped 28 points in the fourth quarter, and it just seemed that the Baltimore Ravens were just got blitzed. They had no idea what to do.
Pun intended, they were dead in the water. The Dolphins were dead in the water. They were, Tono. I'm telling you.
Jeff, don't make me call Peter.
But Lamar Jackson, after he ran for the 75-yard touchdown, I'm like, there's no way the Ravens are losing this game.
But I got to ask you, Jeff, did you really think they had a chance of coming back?
No, because even with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I'm just like, the way Lamar Jackson was playing, he's the first player ever to get a 75-yard touchdown pass and a 75-yard touchdown run in the game. The way he was just on an otherworldly level. And he didn't play bad in the fourth quarter, but the Ravens, they need J.K. Dobbins back in the worst possible way, because they don't have anybody that can take the pressure off Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, they still put up 38 points, though, Jeff. I mean, let's be honest. They still put up 38 points. That defense failed the Ravens yesterday, not the offense.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, and look, the offense did get the field goal to take the lead and kind of stop the bleeding. But I remember saying when Tucker kicked it, I'm okay. I'm like, well, I don't think that's going to stop the Dolphins right now, because Tua is just – he was in video game mode. And everything – he was just hitting every single pass to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Like, Hill had the big splash plays, but Waddle was the guy who got that offense going. And then Mike McDaniel, I got to give him credit as a coach. What a play design. Just giving the ball to Chase Edmonds there, running the football with 40 seconds left, and basically getting him inside the 10-yard line. I'm like, man, Mike McDaniel can coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early. You know what I'm saying? And the Dolphins are 2-0, so they're starting off the season very well. But it's September. It's still on some level an extension of the preseason. Now we're going to be, after tonight's games, the Minnesota Vikings at the Eagles and Tennessee and the Bills. After tonight, we're going to be entering week 3. And I think now we're going to start to see teams start to formulate their identities, and we're going to start to see more consistent football. Because again, I believe that weeks 1, week 2 are somewhat extensions of that preseason. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this was a spectacular weekend in football. I have to ask you a very controversial question, and this may throw some football fans out of whack, but I think it's about time we start.
About this Cowboys upset win here.
No, not that one. Not that one. I think something a little bit more blasphemous. Is Russell Wilson washed?
Ooh. Is he washed? Or is Nathaniel Hackett out of his realm as a head coach? It might be both, Tone.
Because there's great quarterbacks. For the most part, they can overcome bad coaching. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, regardless of what the play is, you have to drop back and you have to throw that ball. So there were just moments where Russell Wilson just seemed out of whack. Is he trying to get used to his new team, the new digs, the new teammates, the new play? I don't know. I feel like there's a certain threshold or there's a standard that should always be set when you're a quarterback of Russell Wilson's caliber, or what I think his caliber is. And 2 weeks in a row, he didn't look like the Russell Wilson that we're used to. I don't know. I don't know if he's still nursing that thumb injury or whatever. I don't know. But Russell Wilson didn't look like Russell Wilson yesterday.
No, he didn't. And look, I didn't get to watch most of the Broncos-Texans game. I was doing some of the box score. I did hear about the Nathaniel Hackett stuff, though. His whole game. I got to connect here with Dallas. What was Mike McCarthy trying to do at the end of that Cowboys game yesterday? Like, I don't understand his clock management at all. Look, I got to give Dallas all the credit in the world. Very impressive win against, I don't know if the Bengals are good or not. I mean, can we do an 0-2 overreaction there? But I don't know, Tone. Their defense, I said Friday, their defense is going to, if they win, it's going to be because of their defense. But their offense scored 14 points in the first quarter, and that seemed like it was going to be enough.
Well, I think it's fairly simple, right? The Bengals, it just seems like they don't know how to evaluate offensive line. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, and time and time again, Joe Burrow is running for his life. He got sacked 6 times yesterday. The week before that, he got sacked 7 times?
Yep.
So I got to be honest with you. I firmly believe when contract time comes, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they're not going to be Bengals anymore. The only way you keep those guys, if you throw the bag at their face, those guaranteed dollars have to be tremendous. I firmly believe Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are not going to be Bengals once the contract talks come, because the Bengals, and I got to give the Bengals credit to a degree, they tried to invest in the offensive line. They tried, but something's not connecting. Is it the offensive line coaching? That's the only thing I can think of at this point, because they've drafted guys there. They've brought in free agents. I think they brought in Terrence Steele, right? Or no, I'm sorry, Lyle Collins. What?
Yep.
Yeah, right. I'm not familiar with Cowboys, garbage, but the Bengals, they have an offensive line issue. They also have, and also I can't get mad at the defense. The defense only gave up 20 points. That high-powered Bengals offense should be able to put up more than 20 points. I don't know what's going on. Is Zach Taylor, a pretender? Was last year an anomaly? I had to ask you.
So this is my issue, and I agree with everything you're saying about the Bengals offensive line, but I got to fault Joe Burrow here too. Stop looking for 50-yard plays every time you get the football. Stop it, and this is on the coaching too, by the way. Stop at the 7-step dropbacks, especially when your offensive line is just getting pummeled. Micah Parsons made that offensive line look like Swiss cheese yesterday. There were holes all over the place, Tony. So, but Joe Burrow is holding on to the ball too long. He has time to get rid of it initially. and they have to do quick passes. And this team will do it. They're looking for that big bomb, the Jamar Chase, the T. Higgins. It's like you and me playing 4 verticals in Madden. We're just looking for the deep play no matter what. And it was frustrating me watching some of that game yesterday, thinking, okay, like Dallas is blitzing. Why don't you go underneath? Why don't you force Trayvon Diggs and Anthony Brown to make tackles? And they just weren't doing it. And it just didn't seem like the Bengals really got into any sort of rhythm or figured anything out until it was in the fourth quarter. And I got to give Dallas all the credit in the world. They jumped out to an early lead, and they allowed their defense to kind of take over the game. And then when Cincinnati did tie it, look, Cooper Rush made the 2 throws he needed to make, and Brett Maher kicked the field goal. But really, this Bengals-Cowboys game, if Cincinnati was started out the way they finished, Cincinnati would be 1-1, Dallas would be 0-2. Right?
Yeah, and I'm still not paying Dallas any mind either, but I got to give credit where credit is due. Michael Parsons had 5 quarterback hits. That's significantly more than everyone else. Everyone else only had about 1. He was the pass rush. And you said something really interesting, right? If you're the Bengals, if you know your offensive line is suspect, if you're already averaging about 6-7 sacks a game right now. If you know your offensive line is suspect, like you said, get involved in a short game. And Joe Burrow, stop always trying to look for the bomb. But when you have it's kind of like the curse of the gifted, right? When you have guys like Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd, I know T. Higgins didn't play, but you have that high-powered offense. You can't help but to want to stretch the field. But the best quarterbacks know how to take what the defense gives them. Patrick Mahomes is one guy that indicated that he's still learning how to read defenses, and you're starting to see Patrick Mahomes, evolve as a quarterback. You're starting to see his game transcend, because he's not only just settling for the big plays, right? He's starting to take the check down and allowing the offense to work for him, and not trying to just force everything.
So Stephen Jones said something very interesting yesterday before this game. Dak Prescott may be back for next week's game against the Giants. At the way Cooper Rush played yesterday, do you bring Dak back? Do you even consider this at this point?
The Cowboys are comedy, pure comedy. How do you turn a 8-week recovery into a 2-week recovery all of a sudden? It doesn't make any sense. I think they're just saying that because they want to keep people in those seats. Dak Prescott is not coming back until probably after maybe week 6, week 7, something. In my honest estimation. Look, I'm not a doctor, right? I can't really make that estimation. If they say he's going to come back, okay, all right, we'll see. But I just don't believe it. And if he does come back, he's going to be more of a liability than anything.
How about the Giants, though? I know they only played Carolina. It was an ugly game.
You got to respect it, though. You got to respect it.
2-0. 2-0. I mean, 2-0 is 2-0. And right now, as of this show, they are first place in that division. And they got a big game with Dallas coming up next week. And look, Saquon Barkley was contained for a lot of that game yesterday. But I agree with you. You got to respect what they're doing. I mean, who would have thought that Giants would start the year 2-0 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that's the fascinating part. I mean, they've had the luck of the draw when it comes to opponents. I'm not that high on the Tennessee Titans, I'll be honest with you. So I didn't think that was really a big win for them. And I'm not high on the Carolina Panthers. Let's be frank about it. The New York Giants are winning football games the best way they know how. Saquon Barkley or bust, and he didn't really have the best game yesterday, but they're relying heavily on Saquon Barkley. They're limiting Daniel Jones's throws. He only threw the ball. Well, he threw the ball 34 times yesterday. But the game before that, in week 1, he threw the ball 19 times, I think, or something like that. But they're doing the best they can to limit his throws and make the throws easy. Again, I got to give credit where credit is due. Brian Daboll is coaching that team, and he's showing he's coaching them to be patient and poised and not get ahead of themselves. They could have easily, got flustered throughout that game, but they remain true to who they are. They're leaning on Saquon, and they're making the throws easy. I got to give credit where credit is due. Daniel Jones, he's running the offense, and right now they're averaging about 19 points a game, 20 points a game. They're not world beaters at all. So the moment they run into a team that actually can put up some points, then we'll find out exactly who they are. But also, got to give credit to their defense as well. Holding the Carolina Panthers only 16 points. That's something to hang your hat on. But I still believe the Giants have a long way to go. But it's a fun story. They're 2-0. Great, great situation when it comes to the opponent. So yeah, they're 2-0. It is what it is. But I think once we get deeper to the season, we're going to find out exactly who everyone is.
I got to give you an extension on the Daniel Jones paper here. So I thought in the first half, they didn't give Daniel Jones the ball enough. They didn't trust him. And I think that was by design. But I love what they were able to do to generate offense in the second half. Say, all right, Daniel, sling the ball around. But on that 3rd and 5, when they needed Daniel Jones to make a play, they call that naked bootleg with a quarterback who can run. And he gets that first down. And I said, okay, Brian Dable, this is the difference between a good coach and Brian Dable and a bad coach in Joe Judge. Because I think if Joe Judge is the coach yesterday, the Giants don't win that football game. Now they're 2-0, and Jeff Kerr and Tony DeShields actually have to consider this question. Are they going to be in the NFC East race? And I think next week against Dallas is – I mean, look, it might be a bad football game because Dallas has a really good defense. The Giants don't have a great offense. Their defense is playing well without Kayvon Thibodeau, without Azeez Ujulari. So I don't know, Tone. That's going to be one of the most intriguing games next week, and I think it's on the same time as Eagles commit. By the way, they play next week, and we'll talk about Eagles in a bit. But I'll tell you what, Tone. It's through 2 weeks. I know the Eagles are the favorite, but this division just seems really unpredictable right now.
Yeah, that's the word I would use to describe it as well. Very unpredictable. No one saw Dallas losing Dak like that, and then no one saw them beating the Bengals. No one saw the Giants starting the season off 2-0. I think the Washington Commanders season is starting as expected, if you ask me. But I think people, that it's so funny that Detroit Lions, and we also have Mike Gill in the background, so we're going to bring him on very soon. But I want to make this final point before we go to our break. What the Detroit Lions did to the Washington Commanders adds validity to the Philadelphia Eagles win against them. The Detroit Lions have a legit pass rush. They know how to get to the quarterback. They put pressure on you. And it just shows you that if Jalen Hurts was not Jalen Hurts last week, we lose that game. You saw you saw Carson Wentz back there being a stiff, barely can move, and they weren't able to really execute their offense. You saw the difference in what. Actually, as a matter of fact, the way to put it is you saw Jalen Hurts' value. You saw his value in that Detroit Lions win against the Washington Commanders. You saw it. And I got to give credit with Detroit. I got to give credit where credit's due with Detroit. That's 2 weeks in a row putting up over 30 points.
Yeah, final point, and I tweeted this yesterday. I know you saw it, Tone. I hope Eagles fans understand how big of a win that was last week against a good, tough team in their building. Because Washington couldn't do it. The Eagles could. All right, we got to get to Mike Gill. Got to go to break here. Mike Gill, we'll talk week 2. I almost said week 1. Week 2 of this crazy, wild NFL Sunday, and we'll preview some Eagles right after this.